The Chinese authorities want foreign tourists to come experience the real China. But the China of the Chinese Communist Party might be what's putting them off. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. We're now in phase 2 of Operation Honeypot. So please watch this video to the end, like and leave a comment with the honeypot emoji, and I'll have more on Operation Honeypot at the end of this video, so stay tuned. So I know 2025 has basically just begun, but with all the stuff that's happening, I think a lot of people could use a vacation. I know I certainly could. This month has been the longest 3 years of my life. If you're in the same boat, then apparently China is the place to go for your next holiday. That's at least the impression I get from countless travel vlogs about China that are piling up on YouTube these days. Many of them claim to show the wonders of the real China, as opposed to the fake China portrayed by critical voices. Hey, that's me. And their videos are raking up millions of views. Millions of videos for being pro-China on YouTube. Must be nice. Must be nice. We get to see those admiring the view near Shanghai's waterfront, some losing their minds over drones delivering food in Shenzhen, and others marveling at the multicultural beauty of the Uyghur region of Xinjiang. Whoops, wrong footage. How'd that get in there? For that one, a vlogger was visiting Xinjiang, voicing doubts about reports on the repression of the local Uyghur Muslims as he was trying to locate a mosque to visit. But everywhere he went, he found that the mosques were closed and that he wasn't allowed to enter. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. He must have visited during a Muslim holiday where the mosques are closed for years at a time. Coincidentally, this other vlogger also couldn't enter the same mosque when he visited at a different time. But I'm sure there was nothing to it, and that mosque will open any year now, or whenever it is that the Chinese authorities allow minorities to pray. As many of these travel vloggers are eager to point out, it's easier to travel to China today than at any time before. The Chinese authorities have recently been extending visa-free travel to more and more countries, and extended visa-free transit stays for many others. Chinese media of all kinds have also been promoting China as a travel destination, encouraging tourists to come, to see the Chinese miracle with their own eyes. And hey, if they need extra eyes, they can just buy some of the ones the CCP harvested from dissidents, though I don't know if that's in the brochure. But despite these efforts, foreign tourists are not flocking to experience the real China. Even though global tourism has largely recovered from the pandemic years, according to numbers from the UN, this is not the case for China, where visitor numbers are still only about 2/3 of pre-pandemic levels. And maybe it has something to do with the whole pandemic thing. Something about shutting down the entire planet doesn't make people want to hang out with you. The foreign tourists that do come to China are often coming from countries that are firm Chinese allies, like Russia and Malaysia, while there have been a sharp decrease in visitors coming from Western countries, such as Australia, France, and Germany, the very places that recent Chinese tourism efforts have been targeting. Because the CCP is all about crushing the West and its values, but can't understand why they wouldn't want to visit for spring break. The low interest has contributed to several Western airlines leaving China altogether. Now, this is obviously unwelcome news for the Chinese authorities that have been pouring time and resources into trying to attract more international visitors from the West. Western countries, with their filthy capitalism, are among the world's wealthiest countries. So their tourists potentially have a good amount of money to spend when they travel, and the Chinese economy is in sore need of a good amount of money. Wow, I can't believe communism has led to economic trouble. When has that ever happened 30 or 40 times before? You see, it never really fully recovered from the COVID pandemic. Industries that used to be booming, like the construction business, the financial sector, and the tech field, are all seeing darker days. Darker than the vision of one of those dissidents whose eyeballs were harvested. In the face of this, the Chinese authorities are betting big on tourism, providing growth and employment for the future. At the same time, the Chinese government relies on tourism as an important tool to realize its geopolitical goals. For example, tourism has been used to try and transform Tibet from a place known for intense Chinese repression of the local culture into a place where local cultural sites are more about a fun photo op in exotic costumes. which somehow seems more disrespectful to the culture than just destroying it. And while the Chinese authorities have been busy tearing down Tibetan religious sites, the local landscape is now covered in tourist landmarks, celebrating the Chinese military's annexation disguised as liberation of Tibet in 1950. Any foreign tourist wanting to visit the real Tibet needs a special permit and must be accompanied by local guides the whole time. Guides that are monitored to ensure that they are patriotic and advance the correct narrative. A similar story is playing out in Xinjiang, where the Chinese authorities regularly organize guided tours for foreign diplomats, influencers, and journalists, allowing them to see happy locals playing instruments, happy locals dancing, and happy locals studying. And if they happen to see anyone crying, the guides will say, "Those are happy tears," and shouts of, "What have you done to my family? What have you done to my people?" is an expression of joy, the joy of being lifted out of poverty by Xi Jinping thought. One Pakistani editor came away from such a tour saying, "I saw Muslims there who were free to enjoy and practice their religion." Yeah, for 5 minutes, for an audience, at gunpoint. Yay, freedom! While another said, "Wherever we went, we saw the people were living a normal life, a peaceful and content life. So the terrible things I've read about Xinjiang did not align with what I saw." And I guess if you don't see mass human rights violations in the middle of the street on your guided tour carried out personally by Chinese leaders, then they can't be happening. You would think that the absolute inability to do unguided tours of these areas would be a clue to the CCP's real motives, but hey, I guess not. This is all part of the Chinese government's grand propaganda mission of telling China's story well, which is basically about strengthening the Chinese leadership's soft power by promoting enough positive stories about China that they drown out the critical ones. Hey, that's me. And I don't feel like being drowned out. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. Many vloggers are doing a great job of furthering this goal, some indirectly, like this unassuming couple touring Beijing, gushing over the cool police presence around Tiananmen Square. Essentially, they're useful idiots, which might be the only time I'll call an influencer useful. Then there are the more direct ways of spreading China's propaganda, like this influencer talking about how she was given a tour of Tibet for free by the travel agency Experience Tibet in exchange for doing content for them. And here I am trying to travel for free by racking up air miles on a credit card like a sucker when I could just be doing propaganda for a genocidal regime. Brilliant travel hack. The thing is, as stupid as all of this tourist propaganda sounds, the Chinese government's desperate attempts to paint a more positive picture of China under their control makes sense, as the government needs all the popularity points it can possibly get. A Pew Research Center study shows that unfavorable attitudes towards China reached historic heights in 2023 across the developed world, with the country not faring much better in the same study from 2024. And Xi and his government didn't do so hot either, possibly due to so many critical voices. Hey, that's me. Now, it probably doesn't help that the Chinese government has ended up in conflicts with a few developed countries in recent years, even including peaceful ones such as Lithuania and Canada, over disagreements regarding Taiwan's status and Beijing's use of hostage diplomacy. At the same time, however, it could be that the problem isn't that too many foreigners don't know the real China, but that they're actually too familiar with the CCP's China. So the real China. And I'm not talking about the China where the locals in Tibet welcome you with a ceremonial scarf, or the locals in Xinjiang are enjoying their time in college, but the one where Tibetans set themselves on fire to protest the CCP's regressive policies against them, and where Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang are locked up by the hundreds of thousands in indoctrination camps that are meant to strip them of their cultural identity. Hey, I'm starting to think maybe that's why the mosques were closed. You know, not just the China where people step onto good-looking high-speed trains that can take them hundreds of miles from home, but the one where people get arrested just a few blocks from their home for wearing a costume on Halloween and being sexy AF. Instead of trying to deny or drown out such accounts, the Chinese government could boost its image by stopping these things from happening in the first place. And then, as a bonus, foreign tourists might actually start coming in greater numbers all by themselves. Somehow, regions with oppressed minorities don't exactly scream family fun. For now, though, they don't make it easy for people to just close their eyes to the ongoing abuse and human rights violations and pack a suitcase. I mean, as a resident of New York City myself, for example, how am I supposed to visit a place where Spider-Man is arrested for just doing push-ups? You mess with Spider-Man, you mess with New York, you mess with all of us. Speaking of vacationing in China, I took my own trip to the glittering skyline of Shanghai and the vast cotton fields of Xinjiang last week. Check out that video if you haven't seen it. That was inspired by a YouTube investigation of itself that found they weren't soft censoring my channel, and the reason I suddenly lost 5 million views since October was just because people weren't interested in my videos anymore. The reason the revenue from this last December was down 77% from a year ago was that China Uncensored, that has way more subscribers now, just isn't popular. That's why I traveled to Xinjiang. YouTube told me that's what viewers want to see. In that video, I also launched Phase 2 of Operation Honeypot, where I asked you to help me fight YouTube censorship by watching my videos to the end, clicking on any of my videos that show up in your recommended videos, and liking and leaving a honeypot comment. Thanks to all of you who are participating in Operation Honeypot, more people are seeing my videos again, like Valentinius Aurelius and JC. Are you seeing China Uncensored videos too, or are they not showing up for you? Let me know in the comments below. Or should I say China Censored videos, which is the suggestion Steamrunner found when he tried to use the search bar to find my videos. You're not the only one, Steamrunner. It takes a tenacious person to keep watching China Uncensored with all the barriers that YouTube throws in our way, which is why I admire you, Plambetto, for watching China Uncensored for over a decade. Thanks, Plambetto. And thank you, Turnson Suleiman, for watching too. You've really got it rough. Yes, you're a Uyghur, so the CCP is colonizing your homeland, but you also live in Canada. In wartime, thank you for making the effort to watch my videos until the end. I agree that I'm worth the effort. You, my faithful China Uncensored 50-cent army, are worth the effort too. So you keep honeypotting, and I'll keep making videos. And if you can, with December's year-to-year YouTube revenue down 77%, we're in some dire financial straits. So click here to subscribe to my new premium website. Thank you, my 50-cent army. You're the reason the show can continue. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Deploy the honeypots!